Well, hello there. Good evening. How are you?
How's everybody doing tonight?
I hope much better than last night.
Yeah. Oh, well, every family has a little bicker once in a while.
Right. It happens. It
Yep.
happens. Now,
Did I hear you say someone called already?
Yeah, there's some, actually I have two different individuals that I show.
That's right. You will get two different calls.
Okay. Do I need to unmute both or just one or?
Both. You need to
Both?
unmute both.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. And hopefully these are the two that are supposed to be here. And if they are, what I will do is I will lock the conference call. That way nobody else can call in.
Okay. And I got myself straightened out here.
You did?
I always forget to turn the sound off.
Were you crooked?
I was crooked.
All right, all right, you guys are going to hear that you're unmuted, and you'll be live.
Okay.
Hi, Captain.
Good evening. May I help you?
Hi, this must be Lon and Lee.
This is
Lon and Lee here.
Oh, Lon is here. Good.
Yeah, President
yes,
accounted
he
for it.
is.
We've been here, but they had us muted, so we couldn't tell who was here.
I've been muted all my life.
I'll tell you, I've been excited about this all day. It's been about 1.5 years since you and I did a show together, Lee, and
That's right, Catherine. I remember
lots-
you well
lots
because
of
my
things
best
have
friend's
happened.
wife was a Catherine.
Oh, that's right. You told me that then. And you
put this
remember
out
when
on-
you
I
did
put
that
this out-
show? When you did that
put
show,
this
you
out
were
on Twitter, by the way,
broadcasting from me,
Catherine.
right? Pardon?
Catherine, I put this out on Twitter so that our Twitter people know that can tune in. The
Oh,
link.
okay, that's great. I threw it all over different places and put it up public in the Facebook too.
Great.
So, and I have got that movie trailer, and Mike is going to put it up so we can actually play it tonight. And the people that are here in the chat, they can see it.
Oh, so they can see it then.
Yeah, and the rest will
Okay.
hear it. Yep.
Okay,
and
good.
So, Lee, what has been going on with you?
I'm still the same guy, still fighting for our fellow Americans. That's all I can assure you. I have not given up on my mandate. It's the only one I got. He scared me then, and I'm not scared anymore. I lived through it.
Yeah, isn't that? And the closer we get to the time we're going home, we don't care no more anyway.
I always care. I always care because the people got to know this is the biggest election in the world right now because everything's upside down. So many of the puppet masters want to have World War III, and the cabal wants to sell more military equipment for the military-industrial complex, and nobody has any money, so we're going to invent the money. And even the banks now want to charge you a couple of % for you to make a deposit. That is crazy. They're trying to take the cash out of the system. And all these years, the big cash was always with the mob, and now the mob's going to be like exempt from this. So we're going to get a double Dutch hit in the head again.
Yeah, we are. Before we get started, Lon, could you do a little bio on Lee and tell us who he is and his background a little bit, and then we're going to play that clip.
Documentary.
And so that everybody really gets a good idea of who Lee is. And I want all of you to know this is probably one of the best patriots I've ever met in my life. And I haven't met him directly, but I feel like I know him even after the first show we did.
That's because I'm Polish in the region on my mother's side with a little Irish.
Oh, there it is.
My mother was a great lady.
Well, we get along good then. I'm a little Jewish.
Hey, I went to a Jewish high school for 3 years. In fact, when I went to Tel Aviv, they told me that Golda Meir graduated from my same high school. I said, that was quite a few years ago, people. But they knew I went to the same school that Golda Meir went to, who came to be the prime minister of Israel.
It's a small world.
And I dated a lot of Jewish girls in high school. They were friendly.
We're good. We're nice people.
Yeah, I remember one of the young girls told me she was a Jewish princess. I had no idea what she was saying to me. Not a clue.
Well, my mom always said the better half of me was the Irish half. So
there you go. The
Wait.
fighting Irish.
My mom always told me the best half of me was my back half. So what's that mean?
Oh, that's because it
Back
fit
half.
better
Uh-oh.
on the paddle. And by the way, Lee, this is Mike Callahan, and he runs this station, and he also
Good.
co-hosts with me.
Pleasure
And so
to
you're
meet you.
meeting Mike, and that's Lon and Lee.
Pleasure to meet you both.
Hi, Mike.
Gordon, thank you. And Mike, you must know I have two sons, a Brian Michael and a Michael Lee.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
met Mikhail Gorbachev, I told him, you know, Mr. Secretary General, I have two Mikhails too. I have a Michael Lee and a Brian Michael, and he smiled at me.
Wow, that's
Being an
awesome.
American.
I've got 3 boys, and all 3 of their middle name is Michael.
Excellent. Excellent.
My middle name's Michael, and I have a Michael son.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's a very
And I came in with the Mike because when we were in grade school, St. Michael the Archangel was our guardian. In
There
grade
you
school,
go.
in parochial school. And that's why I went with St. Michael the Archangel.
And that he is. Okay,
My wife
so
could not understand it. She was Lutheran. She had no idea who St. Michael the Archangel was.
yeah, they didn't teach us much in them Lutheran churches.
Yeah.
They really didn't. They got us ready for communion, and that was about it.
Yeah. And to marry a Catholic boy.
Yeah, that's true.
Little did I know back in '61 when I got married.
yeah.
But I love
Yeah.
my wife and my 3 kids.
I've got this tuned into the Watchman, so I can just keep an eye on it on my computer.
Okay.
They've got 63 people in here now.
Yeah, just in the chat, but we have another chat going too.
Okay. Good.
So we have another chat going on our web page, and I have no idea who's over there. I don't know because I'm in the YouTube section. So Lon, you want to go ahead and give us a little bio on Ambassador Lee Wanta?
Sure. So we're on the air now, rolling.
We certainly are.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, it's great to be with everybody out there and to be able to share with you a little bit about who Lee is. And we're working on a documentary right now, which you'll see a little bit later, just a short piece of that. It's in production. But I've had the opportunity to get to know Lee, working on this and helping him with his biography. And so there's so much we could say about Lee, but I'm going to try and do my best just to give you a little bit of overview of Lee. Lee grew up in the Wisconsin area, and as a young man was, learned right very early about law enforcement. He got involved at a very young age in helping, working in his area in law enforcement, along with his other talents that he has in becoming an engineer in college. But anyway, to make a long story short, first of all, Lee became President Reagan's secret agent, and a secret agent under the Toten Doctrine. And the Toten Doctrine was initiated by Abraham Lincoln, which allowed a private citizen to be able to go behind enemy lines and conduct operations that would help, the course of behind enemy lines. And so Lee worked directly under a mandate under President Reagan as a private citizen, was asked to go and help figure out ways to bring the Soviet Union or bankrupt the Soviet Union so we could end the Cold War. And so Lee used his many talents. Lee is an interesting guy because he has a photographic memory. He's able to remember things that he sees when he walks into a room, and he remembers every detail. In fact, I've heard his stories over and over again. I could tell you they never change. So it's been Lee is amazing at remembering details. But anyway, he's the kind of person that President Reagan trusted, not only because he was very talented and had some unique talents, but he also had he was trustworthy. He was somebody that Lee was a Boy Scout at one time early in his life. He was involved with Dale Carnegie, and he became he was the type of person that President Reagan could trust, and he also had the talent and the skills and people skills as well to be able to go behind enemy lines and work as a businessman to take the Soviet Union down in a financial way. And so that's what Lee's responsibility was. And as a private citizen, he was able to. He was given some. We're going to talk about this on the show, but he was given funding of a large sum of money, and I'll let Lee tell you about it, which he paid back 6 months later as part of his responsibility. But in the process did amass quite a fortune, and you're going to learn more about that as we talk tonight. But Lee's somebody that you can trust. He's somebody that's, and I've had the opportunity to interview him, and for many hours, and we've spent a lot of time together. And I can tell you that his story is compelling. It's one that every American needs to hear. And in the process, he made a lot of friends with people like Mikhail Gorbachev, and other people trusted him as well enough that he was able to make some deals that helped bring the Soviet Union down and bankrupt it. But in the process also, he made there's a lot of enemies out there that don't like Lee because who he is. He's been known as a cop's cop, and I need to tell you that right from the start, that that's one of the nicknames he has. And his other nickname is he's President Reagan's junkyard dog. So again, President Reagan called him that. So that's just a brief introduction of Lee, and we're going to talk tonight about what Lee's mandate was.
And we are pleasing God, so we don't worry about
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the nuns always talked to us when we were young about character, and boy, we needed to keep alive.
Yep.
Well, they gave you a little character with their little paddles, didn't they?
That was a ruler, not a paddle. The eraser when it flew through the air. And then I'd go up there and hand it back to her, and she would say, "Sit down." Because you never know if she was throwing it at me or somebody behind me. But if you see it coming, you caught it, and went up there being polite and gave it back to her.
So we still have that echo going on here, it looks like. So
That's because I stutter. You get it twice. S's.
Yeah, I'm hearing it like 4 times.
When we get as old as we are, we need to get it twice. Just to hear the first time. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's going out, let me change one more thing. The only thing I can do to stop any possible reverb, hang on.
Is there any one of you that are listening to it back through your headset or something?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. I've got everything set right.
My voice is not oh, yes, it is.
Let me try this. Does that help?
Let me see. Does that help? No.
Still echoing.
What the heck?
Let me
Okay.
I'm going to take down my speakers and see if that works. No.
That might be helping. No, still there. A little
No, it's still there.
We could call them the hackers galore.
Yeah.
It's helping for them listening outside of us that are talking
Right, because
here.
they get to have an education of the truth.
Oh no, I mean the sound is helping them, but it's not for us. We're getting echo.
Is that better or worse?
Worse.
I don't know. Yeah, that's worse than it was. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I had it direct through. While you guys are getting echo, makes I have no idea why. Let me try turning.
Remember the other night you had to unplug something when that happened?
Yep. Did this do it?
Let me see, did that do it? Yes, you did it.
Sounds clear to me.
You got it.
It's
Okay.
a lot clearer now.
We are getting.
Okay.
We're getting. I'm sorry, guys. We are getting hit pretty hard.
Well, you keep doing your part there, and we'll start doing ours as fast as we can.
Yep. Let me go ahead and get that screen back up. So give me a
Okay.
fill me in for a minute while I do this.
Okay.
That's the advantage of being a Gemini. You have to work twice as fast because you're a twin.
There. You know, it's funny you bring up them twin things. That stuff came to me today. Why do you suppose in Boston there were brothers? So you had two, and then there were brothers in Brussels too. They used
You
just
want my
about the
opinion?
same amount. Yes, I do.
You have theater, false flags, and the well-paid. And some of those people in Boston, those kids are still running around. They're pretty well alive.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to look at the intentions of the people who are doing the false flags, trying to incite riots and disobedience, and anything that they can get on the cheap. It's all political, puppet masters, intrigue, but as President Eisenhower would call it, it's all theater, and so would President Reagan. It's all theater. Watch who you talk to and where you are, because people will reconstruct the scene as if it never happened.
Isn't that something?
Very
Because I
expensive, but
noticed
they get away
too
with
that,
it.
yeah, but you know, with the Masons, there is something to do with the twins, and then you have the twin pillars. And I noticed that they were showing these twin pillars a lot in different commercials lately, and then I saw that we have two twin planets supposedly coming to hit us, and now we have these brothers, two and two. Something is going on here with this two stuff.
Yeah, but you have to understand how they're recruited, and how they get brainwashed, and how they think they're getting 9 wives or 20 wives or whatever they think they're getting their virgins, and it's illogical because nobody ever comes back to verify it.
You got a good point there, Lee. Yeah.
There's a big question mark on the screen here.
Yep, that'll
I'm not sure why.
change. That'll change just now. Yeah, I was resetting up the screen.
Okay.
It's
I don't know what screens you guys are looking at. I feel shorted.
You don't have a
I need a
screen on
screen.
the phone there. Huh?
No.
Where's your computer?
Okay, there it is. So there's Eagle 1 to 1. He doesn't have a computer in front of him right now.
Uh-huh.
They hack mine all the time. No sense. It's worth their repair bills because you buy a new one, you rip that one off too.
I know. I know. Yep.
Alrighty, I'm ready whenever you guys are for playing.
Go
that.
ahead and play it then.
Are we
and let's
back
get
on the air
started.
now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're good to
yeah.
go now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, hey, it's good that we're back on, and I just, again, this documentary, this is just a 10-minute clip of the project we've been working on, and and it's available, by the way, at Eagle 1 to Wanta. You can see it if you go to that website, Eagle 1 to Wanta, and there's also some backup material and news releases regarding not only the documentary but the biography, which has been out since June, but we just now are making it available in paper, so people can get a paper version as well. But it's on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and iBooks, and that's Lee's biography called Wanta, Black Swan, White Hat. So here's.
But if I can
on
add, remember,
Yeah.
Lon, the Pentagon called. They couldn't find it because they were going EAGLE number 1 TO
that's
Wanta.
right.
And I told the admiral, you're not flying a missile to the moon. Spell out ONE, and he goes, oh, we got it, thank you, and he hung up.
Ah.
So Eagle 1 to Wanta. Make sure you spell it out completely. .com.
Thank
Eagle
you.
1 to Wanta. You bet. And then of course Lee has a Twitter there's Ambassador Lee Wanta is on Twitter at Eagle One to Wanta on Twitter. So you could also look into his tweets. We have regular tweets going out regularly on up-to-date tweets on what Lee's doing.
We have someone in the chat room, Lee, that's her name is Brenda Beck, and she says she's related to Wanta in Wisconsin.
Brenda who?
Beck.
Beck. B-E-C-K?
Uh-huh.
I knew a Wally Beck, but we were related in friendship because he was in the Navy, and he was very helpful with me learning how to boil lobsters.
There's probably some other Wantas in Wisconsin then.
Possibly.
So you guys can go ahead and roll that video if you're able to do that.
Alrighty. Here we go.
This is my meeting. I want to talk.
There once was an evil empire known as the Soviet Union.
They are the focus of evil in the modern world.
An arms race between the United States of America and the USSR was costing trillions of dollars.
To ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire, to simply call the arms race a giant misunderstanding, and thereby remove yourself from the struggle between right and wrong and good and evil.
The Cold War was out of control. It was just a matter of time before the world would face certain nuclear destruction. A president and his secret agent worked behind the scenes to bring down the Soviet Union financially without even firing a shot.
Operation Stillpoint. Stop the Cold War.
The never-before-told story of why and how Operation Stillpoint was conducted under President Reagan, with his mandated secret agent, Lee Wanta.
And I had a mandate, and it was classified, secret, top secret, signed by Ronald Reagan. I'm Leo Amo Wanta, S-31-IANO, Sector 5. For the people that don't know, we do have an Internal Affairs Department, IANO, in New Orleans. That's me.
Secret Agent Lee Wanta is also a private citizen operating under the Toten Doctrine set up by President Abraham Lincoln.
He was a private citizen operating under the Toten Doctrine.
A miracle that would help save every living person on the earth was about to happen.
I got them where I want them. They can't move because they have no currency, they have no future, unless they surrender the economy to everybody.
Lee negotiated personally with Mikhail Gorbachev in regards to stepping down so that the Russian Federation could be born.
The Soviet Union guys had no money. We assisted them to go into retirement at a large amount of money.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
He knew his country was bankrupt. We offered him $10 billion. Did I have it? Yeah. Did I have the authority to pay for it? I think so. I was in charge. And he says, tomorrow, we get done. Bill. Okay. And he looked at me like, you're never going to do that. But the deal was cast in stone. He cut a deal, we cut a deal, I accepted, he rendered, and I did my portion. That was only $10 billion without firing a shot. It was worth it.
Mikhail Gorbachev steps down. The ruble collapses. The evil empire goes down, and a new Russian Federation is born. The story does not end here. Lee Wanta amasses $27 trillion from his successful work on Operation Stillpoint. Under his mandate from President Reagan, Wanta begins to distribute these funds as directed, which will eliminate our national debt and create a high-speed rail system. Then, without any warning, Lee, 'Lee' 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 '
They put me in a Swiss dungeon, pre-Nazi, no charges. I'm down there, I'm praying, but nobody comes. Nobody comes.
His funds are stolen.
They didn't steal my money, they converted my money. A new word, conversion.
Some well-known leaders are behind it, as well as the Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve is not a bank, I'm sorry. They've never been a bank, they're a clearinghouse. A Federal Reserve note is not a US dollar. That's exactly why Kennedy was getting rid of the Federal Reserve. It was worthless, it was illegal, it was criminal, and it was not good for the American people. But it's all okay, because if we didn't do it, the major banks would fall, including Europe. I didn't know we had to feed the banks in Europe, even though they own part of the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve has no authority. They didn't print the money. They just pretended to send you the money, but they did not pretend to charge us for the transaction and charge us interest to people. That's a pretty cool deal. Talk about graft, embezzlement, fraud by inducement, Title 18, conspiracy against the people of the United States. There's no place for them to hide. We're a rich country. We're not bankrupt. We don't owe $17 trillion. It's paper money.
After years in jail on trumped-up charges, Lee is finally released. His funds were ordered to be returned to him by a U.S. judge in 2006. Why hasn't this order been completed?
I went to hell and back, and I'm not quitting.
The story is unfolding today.
This is the United States. We're not a banana republic. It's crazy. And everybody says it's okay because it's politics. Oh, goody, politics. We have no rule of law.
Greed, corruption, and fraud exposed at the highest level.
You cannot create a law to break a law. Nowhere can you. I don't care who you are.
The secrets of the Federal Reserve exposed.
Kennedy was murdered because he wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve. He wanted a real US dollar. He printed 1s, 2s, and 5s.
Puppet masters are at work throughout the world. Never before released information is now public. What every American needs to know.
For me, it's been a real honor as a documentarian to have this opportunity to tell the story about Ambassador Lee Wanta.
We used to have a clean country. Reagan was building, helping everybody. He didn't care if you were Democrat or Republican. He certainly didn't trust George Bush and his grouping.
A compelling documentary of overcoming adversity and hope for the future.
I have no anxiety or revenge. I got no time. I got things to do. I want to build ICE, be real. We got the VA hospital. We got property things. We got to do this. We have too many projects to do. I'm not being bogged down so they can punish me again. I won't do that. I won't. He was a man of character.
We will never compromise our principles and standards. We will never give away our freedom. We will never abandon our belief in God.
Eagle Wanta, a great American story. Two American heroes who are still working hard for you.
I can simply tell you I have not been discharged. I only work for the office of the president, and since he was the last duly elected president, I haven't been fired. I haven't been discharged.
Eagle Wanta. Finally, the whole truth.
But I have to tell you, because that's my oath.
Lee
Yes, ma'am.
We have some questions going on in the chat here, and I figure we'll clear it up right now.
Okay.
When you're talking about the $27 trillion being yours, you mean what was mandated to you to work with from the U.S. government, right?
No, we don't have a U.S. government. We don't even have a federal government.
Okay.
We don't even have a constitution.
Well, that's true. Not no more.
I made that money through my authority of President Reagan and my mandate. That's the profit that we made from the financial instruments, a lot of currency exchanges. I was never an employee of Uncle Sam because then I could be killed as a spy at the Kremlin. That money, and we have the Reagan-Mitterrand protocols, which is over $70 billion, which President Reagan and President Mitterrand of France wanted me to disperse from my money. I had a $5 trillion contract from the United Nations, contract number 4, which gives me the clear access to a number, large volume, top 10 creditworthy banks. The government had no right to get involved because the banks control the government. The government cannot make any money because we don't have a government. It's controlled by the lobbyists, the bankers, the special interests around the world, the cabal, you name it. They don't care about you and I as citizens. They never did, never will. You will just
Lee?
pay your dues. Yes.
Lee, just wanted to let them know because that you were given $150 billion as working capital.
As working capital that I paid for, and I took a loan for $150 billion, and I had to fight like hell to pay it back because they didn't want it back. Because therefore they could have laid claim or had me killed and say, well, this is all our money. And it's not the government that would have kept that money. It would be the private investors, the banks, the shysters, and God knows what else were involved in the puppet masters that control the New World Order. The New World Order is not our
you
friend.
paid it back within 6 months.
6 months.
Okay. All right.
And they cried
That's
like a
real important.
baby that was trying to give it back to me. I wanted it off my books.
Yeah, Lon, can you see the chat room?
Yeah. Yeah.
So could you keep
can.
track of those statements when they come out, and we just deal with them right away when they come out? Obviously, these are people that would like to discredit Lee, and I'm not going to let that happen. So.
No, me neither.
Well, that money belongs to me,
Well,
not the
you know,
federal government.
I just say one thing. You know, I've spent 2 years, you know, reading Lee's material, and of course visiting with him and interviewing him. Spent a lot of time. I'm a documentarian, and I produced documentaries on a lot of different other types of subjects, not just this. I've produced one on the Vietnam War on fighter pilots a while back. But what I wanted to say is that, you know, there's a lot of people out there, you know, that have agendas to discredit him, and so they do. You know, sometimes people are planted, and they've written things about him. They've placed articles in newspapers. There's been all kinds of, and so my challenge is to anybody that's listening today is why don't you get a hold of the biography? It's only $12.95. Download it off of Amazon, and read it for yourself. It's the book is 500 pages, and it's got tons of documents that back up every single thing that part of Lee's experience and his story. So you can read some of the legal documents. That's why we've made it available so that everybody, and of course the links work on the Amazon version, but if you buy the paperback version, you get a disc that has all those available. But until you've looked at that stuff, I would be very cautious at criticizing Lee, because you don't know where the source came from your information, and I guarantee you there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot. I've seen it.
Well, I understand their question. You know, we're just little poor people out here. We can't get, where does all that money come from? It had to originate somewhere, and now you're saying the UN. Well, that's
transactions.
And part of what we're explaining, part of the documentary, is that we're going to be explaining that in detail, as far as the different ways that he did. Now, some of the things that Lee knows how he did it, those tactics are being used against us. It's related to currency, and Lee can tell you more about it. But the way that the currency works between one country and another, and Lee's ability to make some pretty good business deals with his 10 companies that he had operating that were for this purpose. So
it's called foreign exchange, Forex.
Yeah.
The banks don't get any fees because they're not involved. These are private transactions.
There's a reason why those tanks all ground to a halt, and there wasn't fuel to fuel their tanks, and their
and the
economy
aircraft
was
had no
shambles.
jet fuel.
Okay, so there's quite a bit of funds that were transferred as a result of Lee's efforts, which again was part of the story that we're going to be bringing out in the documentary.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up because I think you're one of the best patriots I've ever met, and I don't want anybody to say anything other than that. But I understand why they don't understand the money part. Wait till we get to the to the Hillary Clinton part.
Right, but see, they don't understand the banks sold phony financial derivatives.
Derivatives,
Pennies on a dollar, but they kept a major part of it, and then it says there's no legal collection, so you can't even get your money back. So they spun it, and they spun it, and the people that their good hard earnings or the investments absolutely turned out to be worthless, and that's how they got caught in the mortgages and everything. There was no real cash out there because it was all trumped up derivatives and promissory banknotes. I promise to pay you when I get around to it, but you have no guarantee. You don't get paid at all.
Exactly. Yeah, China has found that out.
Correct, and we owe them $1.3 trillion in treasuries. And I have a deal with them. I will take over the $1.3 trillion that they have in U.S. Treasury bills, because then we can never be in default. Why would I default my own country? So I will buy them. I will take assignment of them. And everybody agrees, the People's Republic of China. Therefore, they can't sue us or put us in default or confiscate our land and property.
Okay.
A lot of the folks out there, I was really shocked, because I've just been doing the research on this and, trying to do my due diligence. I was really shocked to learn about the Federal Reserve. I'm just like most everybody. When they hear the word federal, they believe that, hey, that's part of our government.
Mm-hmm.
But Federal Express, for example, is not, part of our government, but they have a great name they came up with. But the point is that Federal Reserve isn't a part of our government. It was formed as an independent. It's a group of business people and some foreigners that came together.
They're investors.
They were allowed to form that, and it was called a club. Even the Congressional Report in 1976 called it apparently, and it said the word apparently. Apparently, this is a club of people that control, much of the financial markets of our country, and they're being allowed to do that. They deal with trillions and trillions of dollars. I mean, Lee's money has been like chicken feed compared to what they deal with, and this goes beyond our country. So, if you want to know more about that, if you're interested about where the money goes, why don't you look into the Federal Reserve, because that's the interesting part of the story.
I myself, and I've been very well informed for the last 35, 36 years, but I think we still tend to, you're right, we think about the federal government like it's a part of our government, but it's not a part of our government. And that became very, very clear when you could see all the things that were going on in Oregon. And I got quite wrapped up in that. So, and I now understand the federal government has no business in here. And we need to get them out. They need to be done away with, totally.
But it is done away. The federal government does no longer exist. It's a corporation. It's the corporate United States of America. It's not even the federal government. They were set aside back in, 1913 or 1818? They just were absolved. Goodbye. See ya. That's what the fight was all about. And the British Empire took us over because we didn't pay our war bills at the Civil War, so they put liens and encumbrances on us, and that's how the United States of America went into be a corporate, so they can accept the liens and encumbrances and owe to the British Empire. The British Empire still runs us, Just like in Canada, it's the Dominion of Canada. Australia is the Commonwealth of Australia. The Queen of England still Her Majesty. Ask her, she'll tell you. We're not anybody anymore. We have so much debt, we sold out to everybody.
That's exactly right.
So what Lee was trying to do, by the way, was, and Lee, speak up if I'm not saying it right, but from what I understand, Lee's was trying to pay his taxes on the money that he earned, which was a substantial amount of money, like $12 trillion or more.
35%, the judge ruled. I won my case. And the federal courts ruled. 2 judges ruled it's my money. How many judges in the federal district court have to rule that I have sole beneficial control of my own money, which is in excess of $31.2 trillion?
So
if you look at
before he could pay
treasury,
taxes,
they got $1 trillion worth of derivatives. $1 trillion. I'm just a piker now.
There's a question in here that is kind of interesting to me. Let me see if I can catch this quick. They want to know what your analysis is of Craig Roberts' analysis, Paul Craig Roberts' analysis.
Paul Craig Roberts used to work for the Reagan administration. He's a good man. He's a clean man. And he has not been fired under the Reagan administration either, because there was no transition from the President Reagan on January 21st, 1989. Bush cannot be the President of the United States. His grandfather, Prescott Bush, or his father, when he was at the Herman Bank, was trading with the enemy. He was charged for treason trading with the enemy at the Herman Bank on the East Coast with the Nazi government. And not too long ago, Sandy Berger, the assistant NSA guy, or NSC guy, got caught at the National Archives trying to steal that plea bargaining and conclusions of the law that said that no Bush family legacy could ever be running for public elected offices. That includes Junior and Jeb. And they know that. We've been arguing it for... That's why Bush didn't trust... Bush was not trusted by the Reagan administration. Not one iota. There was no cooperation between President Reagan and his acting Vice President Bush. But he wasn't elected. Reagan was elected. That's why Bush family can never be elected to anything. By their own pleadings and conclusions of law back during the Harriman deal with Prescott Bush. Everybody knows it, but nobody wants to talk about it because they're all getting taken care of. Well, how can the people be taken care of if they can't run their own affairs?
Why do you think, Lee, it is? There is an arrest warrant out for a few of the Bushes and Hillary Clinton and several others, and the Interpol has the warrants. They could issue them at any time. They've had them for at least 3 years, maybe 4, and they don't execute the arrest orders. Why?
They have the red tags. Interpol is a private police state. It's not to have any really law enforcement authority. There's another clearinghouse. Interpol. I used to work at Interpol with Ray Kendall, the Secretary General of Interpol. We did a lot of charging of the bad guys. You get a red tag, they get picked up and arrested. But Hillary's the Clinton Foundation. She's the Secretary of State. Remember in Benghazi, she was involved in Benghazi. But we were helping Somalia by putting in a naval supply depot there and putting our U.S. Air Force at the air base there. We would have been in Ghazi within 8 or 9 minutes or less, and plus with cruisers and destroyers and the aircraft jets and helicopters in Mogadishu, they would have never played games. Reagan put that under Operation Restore Hope so we could control the Middle East from war. We didn't want war. Yet you have Rabin didn't want war. Nobody wanted war. But you have to understand, when you have these groups of the Palestinians, a lot of these groups are funded by the Israelis. Not talking about the people, talking about certain elements within the grouping, shall we say. It's all theater, all rearranging the furniture for themselves. They don't care about people. Human beings mean nothing to them.
In the video you mentioned Operation Still Point.
Uh-huh.
What was that operation?
Operation Still Point, we're going to put the USSR into a still point position. They don't move. They had no currency. They had nothing. They had no food. The people were starving. They had no jet fuel. They had nothing. They didn't even have any hard currency. I had it all. That's how we stopped them. Still point. It's in the film. Stop. And that's the way it was.
So when we want to look up these different operations like Still Point or Restore Hope, do you think we'll find anything on the internet about them, or where would we look?
Absolutely. The internet should have it. The book will have it. The movie that Lon's doing, it's all going to be in there. The disc that he's got, and you can go right now, as he pointed out, at Wanta to Wanta.com and Viking International LLC.com. It's all there for everybody to see. We have all the paperwork. I filed all that paperwork at the White House a million times. So everybody's got that documents. Commerce Department, State Department, the Justice Department. Jim Comey's got it. Ashcroft's got it. I sued the United States government, and I won. Only because I had proof that my money.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to fight about it, so they agreed to pay me. At that time was, I think it was 9.5 with interest trillion, and then Henry Paulson, according to the Federal Bank of Richmond, that knew the money came into the Bank of America in Richmond. They had authority of receiving the money from Bank of America. So we sued everybody, including the Federal Bank of Richmond, and the chief counsel of the Bank of Richmond in front of Federal Judge Ellis said everything the ambassador said was true and correct. However, he was instructed by Henry Paulson, Secretary of the Treasury, to remit the money to the Department of Treasury under his sole authority. His sole authority. I don't even know the guy. I'm not even engaged to him. I never shook his hand. He ain't worth trillion. 4.5 trillion came in from the Bank of China of a number of deals we did on the order of Judge Lee to sell my corporations, not the federal corporations. They don't have any. And then Henry Paulson did the bailout and the TARP money. The banks never even paid that money back. And my argument was, and it still will be continue, if I was the Secretary of the Treasury, which I'm not, I would call all that money back at interest. And I don't care where they get that money from, because they got money from we the people for no investment. Then they bought Treasury bills with the borrowed money, and they got more than 1.5%, 2%. That's a hell of a steal. And that's not right at all. And people, even private people that were friendly with the cabal, they got loans and everything, and they didn't pay that money back. It's all forgiven. How can that be? It's criminal. And a lot of money went to foreign banks.
Forgive our debts.
Well, they can't forgive your debts because you're under their control. Why should they help you?
Exactly.
You know, the thing that a lot of people are hearing, there's so many mixed messages coming from all directions of people that know bits and pieces, and they had put out conspiracy theories, and everybody's getting real savvy on conspiracy theories. Well, we're not talking about a conspiracy theory. If you want to know more about it, read the book, and look at the documents that back up the things that are bringing out. It's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory, but the things that have gone on. And
everybody talks about conspiracy theories, Lon, but there's no more conspiracy theories. Everything that we've ever talked about that people thought was a conspiracy theory, it's here. It's happened. It's on your doorstep.
It's not conspiracy. It's a fact of life. Keep in mind, if I was the Secretary of the Treasury right now, and Jack Lew should have done it, he was from Citibank, he didn't do it, I would have invoiced every single bank, had a full audit. Every bank in the world, as far as I'm concerned, that got bailout and TARP money, because they owe the people of the United States that money back. And then I would have found out how much money does that bank have, how much money in the depositories accounts. I would make all the depository people that put in money in their checkbooks or savings accounts, that money would have been sucked out from the investment. And then I would have looked at what's left, if anything, in their investment portfolio, which I doubt, because they skimmed that so many times and ran it around in derivatives, so that'd be worthless. But at least every depositor with checking and savings accounts, anybody, would have had their funds blocked in their favor. And then the investment bank probably went to investment part, because remember they all merged, which was a criminal offense, that you can use the deposits for investment. People who made deposits got no money, they lost money. So then you would have taken over the bank. You would have sold the bank, the properties, their machines, the equipment, their houses, their computers, everything, because they borrowed that money without the authority of the depositors. Depositors never gave them the right to invest their money that they were holding. And you know which ones they were talking about in New York that went to prison. They were using the depositors' money, and the depositors didn't get nothing back. And so, oh, you shouldn't do that again. Give me a break. The bank regulators took a lot of private jobs with the banks after they got out of the service of the alleged federal government. You have Senator Elizabeth Warren. She went over after all these alleged bankers and got nowhere. And she's a sitting senator. She had them dead to rights, and they pushed her back down into her chair because there's nobody running the country. Nobody.
How are they actually doing that, though? Because I'm watching this happen, too, when, like, for instance, in Oregon, they had that committee, that cow committee that went up there, and those were all, I don't know, 11 or more senators that belonged to that, and they seem to have no power whatsoever.
They don't have any power because we don't have a constitution. They're there. If you know how much money they make in the retirement plans and the people lobbyists, they sell their votes to their positions. To me, under Title 18, Section 201, that is a charge. Even if you're retired or former public officials or current public officials, that's bribery, lobbyists, inducement by fraud. Those are criminal charges, like also the RICO statutes. These people have no place to hide if you had a real prosecutor to prosecute them. We had a senator, a state senator, a former governor of a state on the East Coast that we were trying to bring the high-speed rail in there, and they were going to help me get my $4.5 trillion for $30 billion for a collection fee. $30 billion for a collection fee. Why am I paying public officials collecting my money that they borrowed?
You could hear that.
It's on the tape, right? That's right. They're on tape.
The recording. If you want to hear it yourself, and then ask yourself after you listen to it. For those that might be skeptical, listen. I just challenge you to listen to the recording that was accidentally left on Lee Wanta's embassy phone.
Embassy phone. They called the embassy and left me this message.
Where a former guy, they didn't know they were leaving it, or they either. I'm not sure exactly how it happened. It was amazing, but the former governor of Tennessee and a state representative from North Dakota both were discussing how they were going to extort and blackmail Lee, and that Lee owed them
$30 billion.
At least in that recording, they said that he needed to pay them $10 billion. So they
that was for a quick settlement. If
so
I
you
sell
can
right
ask
now.
yourself. You can ask yourself when you listen to it. Did they know that Lee Wanta was a real person and that those funds were real? This is a former respected governor from the state of Tennessee. You listen to it and find out for yourself and ask yourself that question. And has anything come out of that? I mean, if you made a statement like that, what would happen to you? Okay, I don't know what's happened to those two, but they
right now have dementia and Alzheimer's. That's their attorney's defense.
Yeah.
But the same people ask me through another senator who's still in the Senate that I should throw in my 2,000 tons of gold into the cloakroom for a courtesy transaction. No money. That gold, if I give it to anybody, will go to Fort Knox because they don't have any gold. And that's Soviet Union gold that I bought for it with rubles. 2,000 tons from the Central Bank of the Soviet Union. It's all in Thieves World, in glossies. I purchased. In fact, the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin told the jury, this man's got billions of dollars, and he has 2,000 tons of gold bullion, red Soviet Union gold that he's selling. If he would have read the damn thing, he would have found out I purchased it. It says purchase order. It's not a sales receipt. I bought that gold, and it's sitting right now in the security vaults in Cloten. And someday, if I want to give it to Fort Knox, I will. But it's my call. I own it. And I'll be happy to help this country. It's the only country I got. Born 1940, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. I've never left my job.
Again, all of the details behind this is all you can read it, and and listen to that recording if you get a chance. It's on.
Yeah,
E1
I've heard
Wanta.
that
It's a-
recording. Yeah.
How
And
did
this,
that
and
affect
it's their
you?
voices,
Yeah.
their recording.
How did that affect you when you heard that, Kathy?
I just
What
thought,
were your
well,
thoughts?
geez, if I did that, I'd be sitting behind bars for crying out loud.
I tried that. I filed
Well-
charges against them.
Well, was there any doubt in your mind that they believed that they were going to be getting some of Lee's money?
No.
You know,
And you
was
know
there
when
any
it got
doubt in their mind?
solidified as with Hillary Clinton, that solidified it all for me. I was like, holy
Right.
cow.
But for those that another thing that we were bringing out in the film, and you saw just a little bit of it mentioned on the documentary, is that Lee was arrested on his way to meet in Switzerland with Vince Foster, and as many of you know, he's the chief deputy counsel for the Clintons of the White House, and he was in Switzerland to meet with Lee to pick up a check. Lee's a philanthropist, so he wanted to give the Children's Defense Fund to $250 million as per request from the Clintons. So he was there delivering his
And the White House.
his check, and so anyway, Lee gets arrested. Vince Foster goes back to Washington D.C. and allegedly 10 days later he commits suicide, and nobody knows. Can somebody tell me where the $250 million is?
And it came from Credit Suisse
Yeah.
in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And we have
Well, I'm
people
just-
that were in the office with me when I spent the $243 million to get the financial instruments par value $250 million. Cash.
So
Children's
there's
Defense Fund.
that's an example of something that really hasn't been reported or isn't acted on. I mean, that message has been out in the book. Lee's tried to get the news media to do something about it, but we still haven't heard anything about that. This is probably the first time a lot of the folks out there have even heard that.
Well,
But I was booked on his American Express card at the Hotel de Paix in Geneva. But somehow, the act of God, I wasn't going to carry $250 million in bank debentures, so I had the bank do it for a fee. I think it was $400 for them to go 10 miles to have it delivered to Vince Foster. And it had to be delivered to Vince Foster because that's the only way they could make the transfer of the courier. And I went to a dungeon in a sub-basement in Lausanne, Switzerland for 134 days. I call it Suite 130 because nobody was down there except me, all by myself. I spent the whole day talking to Job because I felt like him. Who else am I going to talk to? I'm in a dungeon. No windows, no nothing, no TV, no soda. And it's terrible.
yeah,
was
I
in
got
a
two other
modern
whistleblowers
Nazi
over
cave.
there now.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
it's crazy.
And I don't know why they end up always over in Switzerland, but you
Because
really
it's
can't.
neutral, and they know how to do it. They had a lot of Nazi agreements during World War II. They were the holding back, not only for the Nazis, but anybody else. And the Jewish people lost a lot of their treasures and royalty and pictures. It was a clearinghouse for the Nazis. That's why they're neutral. They made a lot of money being a broker.
I'll tell you, I know that when I was in Honduras, the Clintons' airplanes were landing all the time, loading up with the drugs and taking them back into the U.S.
Absolutely.
And I saw that with my own eyes on many occasions. So
And Barry Steele, a pilot for the
That's
U.S.
right.
Air Force, he took films of the Bush family, and they
Yep.
bumped him off
Yep, that's right.
because he had pictures and video. So you can't run drugs without knowing you're going to get murdered any day of the week. Because once they don't need you, you're gone, baby. You're
Yeah.
gone.
And that's what they're not understanding. All of these people that are working in the government that are trying to hide their stuff for them and trying to do for them in all the evil that they're committing, when they're through with them, they're just going to kill them. They don't
Absolutely.
care.
They're bumped off.
That's
Just
right.
bump them off. Look how many bankers have been jumping off 33 stories, 20 stories. Why
Yep.
would you want to jump off 20 or 33? You don't have an air brake, so you're going to die. So were they pushed? I expect they were pushed or drugged,
Yeah.
because that's a hell of a fall to commit suicide for the cabal, the New World Order. That's
Well,
a
and
joke.
they had the one guy who stabbed himself 7 times.
Well, it's because he couldn't get the penetration.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
used
he
to be a
stabbed
rescue squad
himself
officer,
7 times.
so you need the depth of the saw to get to the vital organs.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody willingly commits suicide.
No.
Nobody.
Well, some do, but not usually.
Well, how about the
bankers.
guy in Europe that stabbed himself, and then he put himself in a suitcase and zipped it up, and they found him a couple
Yeah,
days
isn't
later.
that interesting?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You talk about
remember that one.
Houdini. Houdini could not even do that.
Yep.
To die and zip it up so he had private quarters.
Yep.
But nobody investigated.
Hillary Clinton is who I want to take down.
That's Queen Melisina. Queen Melisina.
Melisina. There you go.
That's her name.
I do not want to see her get into office. I do not.
There's not going to be any elections. There aren't going to be any elections.
I don't think there is either. I actually agree with you.
There can't be. The Pentagon's going to have to step in. I look at that Joseph Biden will be the interim VP, and Ryan Brown, whatever his name is.
Paul
What's his name? Paul Ryan will be the acting interim VP, and the people will decide enough is enough is enough, and they're clearing out the Congress, they're cleaning out the House of Representatives, they're cleaning out the bankers. There'll be a hell of a big cleanup, and everybody's going to be all on top of the board. And that's what a white-collar commission would be. Just like the Truth Commission in the Philippines in 86, the Good Government Commission. They got rid of all the bad guys, but right after they get rid of all the bad guys, the guys that get rid of all the bad guys became now the new good guys that turned out to be the latest bad guys. So the Philippines suffered again.
Yeah.
You changed the command center. I was there in 86 for President Reagan and Marcos. He got ripped off too. They made him a hell of a good deal. He went to Hawaii and he died. Just a matter of time. I still had the flag from the Philippines. I flew over the palace he gave me. If you look when he departed from Manila to Hawaii, I'm there in the front line with him where he's going up the steps. I have a letter in the book that Lon posted in the book from General Ramos, the Chief Commanding General of the Philippines. I was full-time in 86. And of course, I'm a member of the Manila Yacht Club, too. You got to do something when the riots aren't rioting. But I've been all over the world for our people. And yet they hate Reagan, they hate me by association. I love Reagan.
I don't know who hated Reagan. Never talked to anybody that hated Reagan.
People that weren't on Reagan's cleaning house and getting rid of the military-industrial complex, the Federal Reserve, they hate Reagan. That's why they tried to kill him twice.
Yeah, I remember the first day. I actually saw it happen when it happened, and I couldn't even believe it was happening.
There was 2 attempts at his assassination. One came through Texas and in Washington, D.C., and the Secret Service stopped it because I know the people that were involved. They got the tip that he was going to be bumped off. The first guy tried to pull him out of the White House. He didn't have enough authority, so the second guy called the Secret Service with his identity, and he took him out to the Camp David. And Bush made a comment that I could have been the president. I'll give him the president of the toilet.
Oh, you made me laugh and I forgot my
question.
question.
Reagan was a straight shooter. He loved it. I don't know how many times he's talked about fellow Americans. I remember a time he yelled at me one time, "You're the guy eating all the red and orange jelly beans." The next day they had little cups out there, and I still threw away the white ones and the black ones.
I'll eat the black ones.
Well, you could have had them. I had licorice Smith Brothers cough drops when I was a kid. When they came out with the cherry ones, I finally had cough drops again. I just didn't like that licorice taste. The little strawberry licorice I like, cherry licorice.
Yeah.
But I never got it associated with the black ones.
Okay, yeah, I remember my question now.
Okay.
In 1983, I was in Nicaragua during the war. And so
I was in Nicaragua there with the brothers there, Calero brothers.
Really?
We bought in the Stingers, the Red Eyes. We had to buy the Red Eye clones. Yeah, they were down in Kenner, Louisiana, and General C. Secor and I, and what's the other one with the S? He was down there. He escaped off to Japan because we were accused of accelerating the warbirds because we shot them down with the Red Eyes, HN-5A clones of a Stinger from China, from Polytech.
That was
We
Samosa.
stopped the war.
Yeah.
And Emil was his name. He was our cargo master from Wisconsin. Emil Hassenfuss, I think it was.
Did you meet Siobhan Rubio when you were down there?
No, I met the Calaro brothers and Kenner and the guys out in the jungle shooting down the Soviet Union Hein. They had an agreement, and General Singlab and I got nailed to the cross by the State Department because we were accelerating the war, because the Soviet pilots knew we weren't going to shoot them. Well, we did. Nobody gave me that marching order, so we shot them down with HN-5As, like $150 a piece. We had a whole bunch of those tubes, and we all shot up at the same time. They were like a bunch of mosquitoes up there, and they came down on their underbelly. Then they accused us of accelerating the war because he wouldn't fly anymore. I thought they were decreasing the war because he wouldn't fly anymore because we could knock him down.
Interesting.
And you have to understand, at the Pentagon, there was a certain guy that was working in the White House. He would go up to you, and you own like a Beechcraft, and he would say, "We're going to steal your Beechcraft because we need it for our undercover work down there." And you had also in Mina doing a lot of the retrofitting of those stolen planes. And then they would guarantee you, the owner of that plane, a special price for your insurance and a big markup. So they would have unidentified planes flying around in Nicaraguan drug traffic that were rebooted in Mena, Arkansas. Doors in, doors out, and stuff like that.
That's right. Right into the airport for Clinton.
Right.
Hey, Kathy, I was going to ask Lee, talk a little bit about H.R. 3723.
Okay. Yep.
That, before Bill Clinton left office, President Clinton, he passed this particular bill, which is called H.R. 3723.
Act of Congress.
And it's an interesting bill because it's been used, in his favor since he left office. And it allows, corporations to maintain their materials as private and
proprietary trade secrets. You can't ask them, no matter if they're running drugs or trafficking women or young children. It's none of your business.
So this is exactly what Lee was trying to talk about when he said, you can't make a law to break a law. That's the problem we have, is that there's been laws that were made so that they could be broken later. But the thing is, it's coming back around to haunt them because that same law is being used.
Yeah, but Clinton passed a law mainly to make sure there be no money for human intelligence.
Yeah. So
nobody had any money. Even they took away your telephone cards, everything. You had no money, and you had no reason to go anywhere. Just sit at your office and shut the hell up.
And that's pretty much what they're still doing.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
Well, they don't have any telephone cards. They can't go anywhere. They weren't limited to $25 a meal. When's the last time you had a $25 meal?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Yeah. But under the new deals now, you have unlimited credit cards and expenses. Just do what you want. You can even have champagne in your bathtub. And parties and pictures and trips. Hey, let's go to Hawaii. The weather's good. What's wrong with downtown? Well, we've been downtown. Let's go to Hawaii instead. Oh, okay.
I think it'd be good, Lee, to also mention Title 18 and a little bit about that. Can you explain?
Which part of Title 18? All those laws are ignored and broken.
There's the main ones that we talk about in the book. The Title 18, by the way, is still in force. It hasn't been rescinded, but maybe you could explain.
Well, Title 18, Section 4 means everybody that's here on the show called misprision of felony. Everyone that's listening to the show is obligated to go to a federal judge or a military officer to say everything we just said, so the people that we have proven are stealing our country should be charged. And it's all in stuff we send out all the time. And Title 241, conspiracy to defraud the American people, all those things are in there. They're all, and RICO, they're all chargeable things to save our country.
So, you know,
Or a
if
sovereign
somebody,
nation.
what it says, and what's the one that deals with public, people that have been elected to an office?
That's
When
201 in Title 18, Section 201, that former and current and future public officials cannot take bribes and lobbyists and all that crap.
And that applies to after they
everybody.
leave office. So it means that, it's not
Even a DA, a mayor,
yeah.
assemblyman.
So after they leave office, they're under the same law. It doesn't go away.
Yeah, that's on paragraph C. Well, they think they're on number A. But see, they have their staff do all these side deals. So they really never touch it. Right now, a leading senator in the United States Senate now is under the Ethics Committee review. And I suspect he will resign. And he's the chairman of a big committee. They got him dirty. They're all dirty. I'm not all of them, but most of them know who's dirty and who's not. And they avoid them, or they stay with them, or they just shut their mouth. But nobody ever works anymore. They just travel around. Nothing ever gets done. And Pelosi changed all the Democratic rules for the last two elections. That doesn't make any sense, how you can have parties decide for the people who they should have and who they should not have. I thought we the people decide who they want to elect. Oh, I'm wrong again. I'm Polish. Sorry.
Somebody was asking Lee, they want to know if you have any ideas as far as solutions, what the people can do, or if there's anything.
People have all the right to rebuild and restore their Constitution. They have that right. They don't have to vote for any parties. They can vote for whoever they want, or they can make sure that somebody that they trust, if you can find somebody, can run for that high office. Or there shouldn't be no elections at all, because you have to understand George Soros and others are counting all the ballots and stuff. Well, why don't I have my future son that hasn't been born yet? Well, let him count them. He'll give me a better count. There's no legitimacy. They count the way they want.
So,
and money
the thing
talks.
that people need to do, people need to, like Lee's talked about many times, and that is that, you don't, just to stay home and wring your hands and complain doesn't, we're not, nobody's advocating a revolution. That's not the proper way to go.
That's illegal, unlawful.
And that's unlawful. But all we're saying is that people need to let their voices be heard, stand up and be counted, and do take the time to research things. Don't just tell, somebody tells you that Lee is a madman or he's crazy or whatever. Don't believe it. Find out for yourself. Read up on him. You're going to find a lot. You'll find a lot of stuff on the internet that's very distracting, but you'll find accurate stuff intermixed. But read the source documents from where those things come from. And,
if I can add real quick, the Provost Marshal of the United States Army, Mark Inch, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, everybody starts talking to them, and Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court, they get all the paperwork done. Just tell them the process of dumb things. They're dumb because it changes their world from the bad to the good. They're going to say it's dumb because, well, you don't have that authority. You can't do that. They certainly do. They're the electoral people of the world. They elect people, not committees or puppet masters who choose and tell them how much. It says even in the tape that Lon and I know that they decide who they're going to get elected and what they're going to get and how much campaign funds they get. Oh, wow. A handful of somebody around the Metropolitan Club decides the fate of our country. I don't think so.
Yeah. One of the things that people don't understand either is that the more contention, the more unhappy, the more confusion there is, the better it is for the people that are making money off of that,
Right.
They benefit tremendously from that. The networks, it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat, they're all generating tremendous amount of income right now from the tax.
But there's no difference between a Republican and a Democratic Party. No difference, none.
It doesn't make any difference, and the thing is, the more contention they create, the better it is. I mean, it helps
more confusing for the people.
Agenda. People can't find out the truth, and then there's all these, half truths and messages being sent to them on the internet and on the mainstream media. It's so confusing for the public to know, who's speaking the truth and who's honorable. And that's one of the tactics they use is confusion and a lot of contention.
And they pay well for that.
And that's been the whole program, to create conflicts, to create destabilization, and what do you call it? State provocateurs.
State agents provocateurs. They should all be arrested. They're criminals in nature, violating even the RICO statutes.
The more confusion that it is, and we're seeing it. That's why people are so frustrated right now.
They're confused. They can't figure out the truth because nobody will give them the truth.
They're getting pieces of that, and then everybody has an agenda. So this will help if we can get some of the people, if we can get some of the leaders that aren't working in our behalf, that don't have integrity or honesty, and they're getting set aside allocations, special deals. That all has to stop. That's part of the problem. And of course, in the banking industry and the financial industry controls a lot of what's going on in politics. So it's a real difficult thing for the public, but just sitting there and complaining isn't going to help. I mean, you really need to get involved, read, study, let your voice be heard, and, it starts with, doing more than just sitting on your couch,
If
Someone's
I can
asking,
add this for a second.
someone's asking
Wait, no,
in
Kathy,
here.
1 second. You
Okay.
talk about Nicaragua. I just want you to know, George Bush had a big investigation against him in violation of the Bolton Amendment for selling arms to Nicaragua. And I know a guy closely that passed all the lie detector tests and and Lon's got a copy of the evidence report to testify against Bush selling arms to the Nicaraguans.
Oh, and
They fired the lie detector guy because he could not get the way the table should be set for George Bush, and the Secret Service was threatening everybody there, and they fired the lie detector experts because they couldn't get Bush out of trouble. But go ahead.
let me tell you how I got into Nicaragua in the first place. I was a missionary, and I was just going out into the field for the first time, and I thought I was just going to Honduras, but the other lady that I went with, we started to get a lot of people coming to us in this 5-state region here of you and me. And between all of them, there were 26 missionaries that were missing. They hadn't heard from them, in 6 weeks or more. And so they knew we were going in. They asked us if we would go find their sons and daughters. And that's what we went in there to do. And when I got in there, nobody knew. We didn't tell our husbands. We told nobody we were going in. And we went in there during the war, right at the time that the Russian artillery is coming down the Rama
There was
road
no Russian
there.
artillery, the Soviet artillery.
Soviet, yeah, sorry.
There was no Russian
You corrected
artillery.
me on that last time, yeah.
I know, because there's a difference between a Soviet and a Russian, big time.
Yeah, there is. And so I got to see all of that, but at the time that we were going, we had a flat tire on the bus, and I missed the only express boat that would go out once a week on a Wednesday. And so when we got to this hotel, which had been bombed out, we knew that we would not live very long as Americans in there. We weren't going to make it through the night. So we had to find a ride to get over to Bluefields. And because we knew that's where we were going to find all these missing missionaries.
The hostages.
Yeah. Well, they were actually executed, all of them.
Well, I didn't know that, but in the meantime, they're a hostage.
In the meantime, yeah. And so we took a ride with Sandinista soldiers, and they did not know that my husband's father was the president of the Contras.
Uh-oh, Calero?
No, he was with the PLI, so that was Siobhan
good, 'cause
Rubio.
I knew the Calero brothers in Kenner.
Yeah.
And Max
Siobhan
Morris
Rubio
in the White
was-
House. They were everywhere in the White House.
I
Their own
know.
little desk and their little contributions. Crazy.
Yeah. So we got on that barge, and here's what we got into. the United States government had donated to what's that idiot's name? Ortega. And he was running again, and they donated boats, motors, and they donated Toyota trucks to him.
Right,
And
but
that's
don't
what was
forget
on
you
this
don't have a
march.
U.S. government. You have a federal government once it's restored. You have a corporate
Yeah.
government right now, and it's not the U.S. government.
Right. Well,
I don't want somebody to think we have a government when we don't.
Yeah,
Sorry about
you're
that.
right. You're right.
I jump in every time I hear that because I know they're not.
Yeah. So we got about a mile down the road.
It's a corporation, and just remember that in a corporation, there's you have shareholders, and
Right.
and you have a board of directors and other things like that.
And you
it
can't
operates
enforce
a lot
and prosecute
different
laws.
and it's a lot different than a constitution, but yet, we're in fact, even the states have their governors are corporations.
Chief
All the
executive
states,
officers
yeah.
of the corporation.
No,
I mean, that's
say that again, what you just said about the laws.
Scott Walker, for example, has an office in Washington, D.C., and he's the chief executive officer of the corporate state of Wisconsin. Lon and I have papers to that effect. I had people in his office. It's a corporation.
Here's an interesting thought. And I like Kasich, and I'm not picking.
I'm talking about Scott Walker.
I'm not picking Kasich out, but I'm saying in the debate, he said, "I've been a CEO. I'm a CEO." He was talking but he wasn't a CEO. He was talking about being a CEO because he's the CEO of the state of Ohio.
Corporate state of Wisconsin. Ohio, you're right.
That's why he called himself CEO.
And he was a good Republican under Reagan.
But he was using that, as an example of his business experience against, Trump. But I'm just saying, I like Casey. I'm not trying to pick on him, but I'm just saying that that's how they all are. They all own a corporation, basically. And the governors have their own corporation, and it's registered as a corporation.
And Lon knows.
Don't take Lee's word for it. And look it up.
No, I know that we're a corporation. I know that's
Yeah,
what
but
that fringes
during
around
the
the
elections,
flag.
Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and I jumped right out of my chair because they both said the Federal Reserve is the central bank of the United States. And I don't swear much, but I was upset because they're not the central bank of the United States. Never will be and never can be. But here's two senators. They're saying that the Federal Reserve is the central bank of the United States. I'm going to vote for them guys? I don't think so.
Here's a question that comes to me right now. Many people are saying right now that what we need to do is close down these bankers and open our own bank. What do you think?
Well, let's go back. Remember I said you have a full audit on all the banks, no matter what banks they are. You find out the depositors' money is now guarded and in trust. Then you go to the investment parts, and I know they're bankrupt. That's how you get rid of that bank. Then that bank would go back on sale maybe by, say, another bank that want to buy the bigger bank. That's not a phony bank, okay? That's how the people can get their banking together because Senator Elizabeth Warren tried to do all that stuff. Have audits on the bank. Have the depositors' money guaranteed in trust. You don't have to insure it because nobody's going to steal it because they're not investing that money on the investment side of the bank where they have the bankruptcies and the foreclosures. That's how the people can do it. Take their checkbook, their savings accounts. It's guaranteed that they're going to be arrested if somebody steals their money. And you can't invest the depositors' money. Therefore, the banks have no money to invest because they're bankrupt before you even get there. Because of derivatives, they have no. See, they mark up these derivatives like they're like a gold certificate. They're worthless. There's no legal collection, monetary collection. It's a rouge. It's like me giving you a roll of toilet paper and telling you it's worth $50, and I'll sell you another one tomorrow if you want to pay the $50 for it. Because it's wrong. It's junk. And that's why the one gentleman that was doing all that stuff on the derivatives, remember that old guy and his wife got off the hook because she ratted on him? He went to prison and he beat him up. It's just all the bankers and the banking regulators were in on the heist. Everybody. They all knew it. and that's a criminal event.
And they're out buying them derivatives more and more every day now.
Well, no, they're trading them now. Anybody will buy them. I don't know who would buy them. They're coming out with a new one now, a new high-yield investment program again, which is another crock. High yield.
See, the big problem, Kathy, and Lee's talked about this many times, and we address it in the book, is that there's a double standard here. You know, the bankers, if you applied the same regulations and rules that they apply to everybody else, but they don't apply to themselves, you know, they wouldn't even qualify for a loan. You know, I mean, but yet, you know, they're above the law. You know, they can.
There are no laws.
They're living a double standard, and that's the issue that the American public needs to understand and do a little research. You know, start looking into this and see how they operate.
Lon, could you send her tomorrow that letter that Senator Warren wrote to the Finance Committee? Because there's proof that Elizabeth Warren said, stop! Nobody stopped. They just stopped her.
Well, they sure did that quick, didn't they?
Sure.
She hardly got out.
Both sides of the fence, you know. You just can't operate. You can't be living, you know, and you know, whether you're a Christian or not, the statement that, you know, it says you can't serve God and mammon. You know, you can't serve two masters, okay?
That's right.
Well, it's very difficult to tell who the white hats and the black swans are. You can't really tell because they're very good at operating as white hats when they need to. That's the problem.
Well, we catch them when we can, but nobody will prosecute them because they got friends in big places and we don't. We just got the truth. Truth to them means nothing.
So we the people, what can we do to take our country back?
I do it every day. Well, you need to pray, that's for sure.
That's number one.
Doing that.
And number two, I sent out memos to Biden, to the Congress, to the Senate. Everybody in the Congress and the Senate knows me, and they hate me because I keep reminding them they're not passing the basic law, regulations, and rules. Lon can give you all kinds of emails I send out every day. I have a SATCOM channel 5 and 6 that Howie and I own, my Chinese partner who got killed by rat poison after he told Bush to go to hell. Called them a couple other names too. About $864 billion that Howie and I had at a nickel credit, which is underwriting bank in Singapore. I offered my 432 divided by 2, give Bush $216 billion, and Howie jumped right up. And you called. Bush was on his outgoing tour, and here's a Chinese son of a warlord from Peking. Jumped. I grabbed his arm. I tried to take him out of there. Secret Service was trying to beat us both up. I just come up. Let's go. Because he demanded he didn't realize that, and he was a depositor in a nickel credit when we took it over from the Prime Minister in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, and his wife. His wife one share. Howie had Lee Kuan Yew as Prime Minister of Singapore one share, and he came in screaming because he met the Prime Minister, found out that he sold a nickel credit to Howie and I. Not a bad deal. They couldn't do it anymore because his wife was a solicitor and he was the Prime Minister. Since Howie's dad was his campaign manager and a warlord from Peking, I was like Howie's tutor to run a bank. I can do that. Hell, I took industrial engineering and accounting. That's not that hard to run a bank. Deposit in, refund out. And we made billions and billions of dollars.
So if the federal government no longer exists...
No, not yet, but it's coming back.
If it's only coming back because we're letting it, as we the people, by fearing it.
No, it's coming back because the Provost Marshal, John Roberts, of the Supreme Court, and that's why Scalia is missing. I say missing, I'm not sure he's dead. If he is dead, it probably was a homicide. And others, because the highest court of the land is the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia, and their authority and territory is only within the District of Columbia. So all the other states are a sovereign state to themselves, and that's why Texas is going to be the new republic. There are 13 states right now going to secede from the corporate United States. That's legal because they don't have to be there because those 13, 15 states are not members of a corporation. And that's why Texas is the lead guy right now. That's why they fear Texas. They fear Arizona. They fear Alabama, Mississippi. people are waking up and saying, we're an independent state, drop dead, and a couple other words along the line. And they're
So do you want to be a shareholder or do you want to be a citizen? You know, or something?
Right. Or you want to be just a pawn.
Okay, and what do you think that Obama was doing in Cuba?
What's he doing in Cuba? I don't think he knows himself, because it's a communist country. We have no business trying to be buddies with them, because they have never apologized. Remember, they were bringing in missiles to shell us. Remember the Bay of Pigs? And the CIA ripped off Kennedy? Here's the CIA reports to the president, and the CIA and the director at that time, you know who it was, George Bush. They ripped off the president of the United States, John Kennedy, and his brother. Both of them were killed and murdered. It's sad. You got the people, there's 330 million people versus probably 120 idiots, or I call them clowns. Lon always yells at me. I got to call them clowns so he knows what I'm talking about. It's wrong. We are the people. And you wonder why they lock me up all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I get to pray to God because I got something to do. What else can I do? You don't get a book, you don't get a pencil, you don't get a comic book, you don't even get a TV, you don't even get a can of soda.
Say, that's a question I have for you.
They
When
put
you
me
were in
into
jail,
a-
did they
a
let you
black
broadcast?
Cell area, and I'm a Polish white guy. And I said, before you guys beat me up and beat me up and beat me up, I want you to call the Somalian embassy. Here's the number. Tell them that you got captured. Ambassador Leo Wanta 04362 and 12535. So they know I'm alive and well. That's when he brought me back to New York by kidnapping me to New York, where the federal judge released me immediately because I had a diplomatic passport, and she knew that these guys were crooks, the U.S. attorney and all these guys, so she dismissed all my charges. But they rearrested me on the steps, so they put me in a black cell block. There was probably 100 guys in there, and they're all looking at this little white guy like a white bunny. And I told the guys that were kind of getting tough with me, and they came back with potato chips, pie, a soda, and then the prison guard says, well, this ain't working out. They're not going to bump them off. So they put me in another area. Captain Gallagher came and asked me who I was because the Secret Service was there to see me. I said, well, good. So we went downstairs to meet with the two Secret Service guys. They wanted to give me a gag order signed by the President of the United States and send me back where I came from, because they didn't realize I came into the East Coast of New York City, and there's a big article, Lon's got all the stuff on that they wanted to give me a presidential gag order to get the hell out of town. I simply asked the Secret Service guys, who's authorizing, who's the president, and they slammed the paper back into the briefcase, almost broke off his fingernails, and they left. And Captain Gallagher says, I wanted the answer. I said, I did too. Who are they reporting to? Because here I'm in the jail, and even though the federal judge released me, they want to take me out of there. Do I get killed down the steps or in the car, or do I fly back to Vienna where I live? You know, I didn't know. But the captain to this day, and I both don't know, which beautiful paperwork, a lot of seals and red stripes and all that stuff. But who gave me a gag order to shut me up, and was it any good? So right after that...
You're just getting a little bit of a glimpse into Lee's life, by the way.
Yeah, and they arrested me in Switzerland for the state of Wisconsin because they claimed I owed them $14,000. I don't even live in Wisconsin since 1985. They kidnapped me, rendition, and now they offered my attorney, who I fired, by the way, they would give me a full pardon and $250,000 to go away. Why should I go away from a crime that never happened? And why should I take a pardon for a crime that never happened? And that Scott Walker was issuing the pardon. I should vote for him for president? Why not they give a drug lord a pardon? Maybe be more productive. I don't know. But you're not going to take a Catholic lay minister and say, well, you have to lie to get this pardon, and take the $250,000 and get the hell out of here. I'm not leaving my country. Why? I'm 76 years old in June. They want me dead anyhow. Why should I be in a manhole cover someplace? I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I talked to the Treasury. I talked to the FBI. I talked to Secret. I talked to everybody, and everybody knows who I am. They all know that I have not broken any laws, but I'm in the wrong cab. Well, I'm sorry I got in the wrong cab, Mr. Bush, and I'm not leaving. Because Reagan told me not to talk to you, and I don't intend to talk to you. He said you were no good, and I agree you're no good. And when the guy testified in a lie detector that he was running arms against the Boland Amendment, which is a felony, that they fired the 2 lie detector guys because they couldn't get the right results to free Bush. So it stood. And Lon's got a copy of the evidence report. And the agent from the FBI was Frank B. Ingram, SA-32NV, National Security. And he's the same guy that got credit for taking President Reagan out of the White House to Camp David, because I tried to get him out. I didn't have any authority. I called Frank's office. They got President Reagan off to Camp David in no time, like in minutes.
This is all the stuff that Lee's touching on is, again, it's in detail, in his biography, because he, it's explained, all of these different events. You're just getting a kind of a snapshot
We're
of a lot
getting
of things
parts
all
of
at once tonight.
yeah.
Really sorry to hit you with so much stuff in one.
And this is nothing
radio
compared
show,
to what I really got.
We could be on the air literally for days.
No,
with
for 20 years at least, I lived all this crap.
Yeah.
You know how many times you try to arrest people for crimes against the people?
I've worked with a lot of people in my career, but this is one of the most interesting projects I've ever got exposed to, and it's very interesting because it involves so many people. It involves history. History was written the way we've been taught, but now you're finding out that maybe history was manipulated, or maybe history was written a way they wanted it to be written. There's a lot more to history that needs to be exposed and written now, based on what Lee is, bringing out, and people need to consider it, not discount it. It's got backup materials to, his documents and everything to back it up. But what I found interesting is, at a high level, a lot of people know who Lee is.
Well, they all know who him, but they're all afraid of Bush family and the Clinton family. Why? Why are we afraid of somebody that has never been elected to anything, and he couldn't run if he wanted to? And Reagan told us clearly, and Craig Roberts knows about it too, do not tell Bush what you're doing at no time at all. Nancy Reagan was shieldless. One time, Larry Eagleberger, the Assistant Secretary of State, and I were down in the White House kitchen. Mrs. Reagan came by, looked at us eating nice fresh donuts with sugar all over our three-piece suits. How long have you gentlemen been down here? And I'm brushing my sugar off. He's brushing his off. And she says, I see. So she turned around and left. About 12 minutes later, the Secret Service says, the president will see you now. She threw us out of her kitchen because we're eating her hot donuts. They were good. He told us to go down and wait for him. So we might have breakfast, right? But she's just walking through her in her private kitchen with nice, soft sugar donuts.
Kathy, you had a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, what's your question? Sorry.
I think I forgot. You get me
Don't
laughing.
forget, it had to be important.
Oh,
I would shut up, but I went to Dale Carnegie from Senator Wiley's donation.
Oh, there's where you get it from.
That's how I got my scholarship. Senator Wiley I introduced him at a junior achievement, and I stuttered on some of the words, and he came to my mother, my dad, the next morning, gave her $500 to send me to Dale Carnegie, and I haven't shut up since. It's his fault.
Iran-Contra, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Iran-Contra, what is your version of that?
Iran-Contra. What part do you know? They made a lot of money. They used it for Iran, which is not friendly. When the previous gentleman was there on the bird deal, remember the man that before became the religious leaders, the man that ran Iran and the brothers?
Oh,
they
yeah,
were good people. They were good people. We also had a general went down there, and they had to carry him to the plane. He was stone drunk in a country you're not supposed to drink in. The Shaw plane, when we took his plane back, when he went to Walter Reed Hospital, we bought his plane to KC Aviations in Appleton, Wisconsin, to upgrade all the security and the radio communications. We were friends. We were uncles. We were cousins with Iran. And Iran's got the best jumbo cashews you will ever eat. I've been to Iran many times at Tehran.
Well, that last time you did a show with me, you broadcasted from Iran. Remember?
Well, I get around.
Yeah.
I get around.
Anyway, Iran-Contra, I was there when this took place.
That's the money-making deal of criminal activities were on behalf of the military-industrial complex.
That's right.
But go ahead.
Well, my
money.
father-in-law,
More makes
like
money.
I
I
said,
don't care
was
who
the
it is.
president of the Contras. And there were 7 factions of the Contras.
Yeah, all money-making divisions.
Right. And then you had some of his relatives that were on the other side. They were on the Sandinista side. So I
Yeah,
got...
they all talked together.
No...
Yeah,
Toward
they
the
did.
end, no. Toward the end, when I would go to dinner at their house, they could all be sitting at the same table. Nobody would talk to each other. They didn't trust each other.
Well, nobody trusts anybody there unless you pay. The paymaster is the only one they trust.
Yeah.
Oh, I said
that's
the wrong
true.
word, paymaster. Lon,
Yeah.
erase that from that.
That's true.
I know.
Yeah.
What a world we live in.
Yeah. You know, when I first got down to Honduras, the kids would always say, $100, $100. $100? Man, the price has gone way up here.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah.
My partner, Howie Kwok, and I were down in Honduras a lot. We own Colas, C-O-L-A-S. Have you ever looked it up, Colas? C-O-L-A-S.
No, I
That was
don't.
when the Chinese intelligence and our intelligence, which is me, we work hand in hand.
What
We
do
had
you
Colas
know?
in
What do you
Honduras.
know about the 316s down there?
316s?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the sisters?
No, talking about the death squad.
Oh, them guys. You don't want to meet them.
I did meet him. I met quite a few of them.
You're alive. You must be good looking.
I was.
There you are.
Yeah. Oh,
Because I
no.
know if you weren't good looking, you're dead meat.
No, these guys, they actually
They were ordered
protected
by
us.
the government to remove certain people that were undesirable,
Yeah. Well,
including
they
the priest and the
protected
nuns.
us. We didn't have any problem at all.
Yeah,
Where we had our problem was on the Sandinista side. Holy cow.
yeah, because they wanted to kill the priest and the nuns and the deacons.
And they did it too.
Absolutely, and buried them.
Yeah.
At least they buried them.
Yeah, there was only one of the 26 that we couldn't find, but then one of the Indians told me that she had been killed too.
Wow. And senseless killings. Senseless.
Yep. And it was because they spoke out against Ortega.
Right.
You know, when we go to other countries, we go in as free. We've got freedom here, so we just think it's everywhere else, but it's not.
Everywhere. Right.
Yeah, it's not. You have to be very careful.
Like
got
when I went to Peking in '85 for the whole year, they give me all this bad stuff. I had a great time. I had a great time in China. I was in a train going up to Tianjin at the naval depot and the naval yard up there in Tianjin. I became a founding member of the Tianjin Economic Development. But going from Peking to Tianjin, we're on this train, and all the, shall we say, Americans are in the last coach car. All of a sudden, these guys come running down the aisles to pull down all the drawings, but already seen the 3 nuke facilities. Because I just click, 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 click. They got 3, a lot of smoke, and they're slamming all the drawings down, you know, on the windowsills, you know. So I couldn't see it, but they were about 50 feet short. So I got back and gave them my report.
You know, I do have another question. This has bothered me for years and years.
Well,
When I got into Nicaragua, the first thing they did in the Sandinista government was shut down all milk farms. And then
Milk
all
farms?
the milk, and the milk from the milk farms was transported up to a place way up on top of the mountain somewhere. And only the government used that milk. Nobody else was allowed that milk.
It must have
What
been
did
for
they do
cooking
with the
because
milk?
They wanted to use it for a vaccine.
Well, they
It
had
had to
to.
be something.
There was they turned all the farms into government farms, which is what they
Oh,
want to
sure,
do.
just like they did in China.
Yeah. And so all the milk then went to the government, but they didn't give it back to the people. What do they do with all of it? What could they possibly use it for?
I don't think they like cheese that much.
No. No, they don't. And the women made their own cheese in the house anyway.
Yeah. And it's
I
lactose,
don't know.
so
I
what
heard
would
a
they
lot
use the
of...
lactose for?
I have no clue.
I remember when they argued with me upstairs, they wanted me in China to check on the tritium to see how much tritium
Thank
that
you.
they have.
That's another question I had.
Yeah,
Tritium.
yeah, I know it very well.
Is that, Mike, was that the name of the thing that we were reading about the other night?
What's
Or
that
no,
now?
tritium's being sprayed on us. That's what that is.
Wouldn't surprise me.
What was the thing we were reading the other night? And
Thorium.
they had, pardon?
Thorium?
Thorium. What do you know
Thorium.
about that?
Thorium, how do you spell it?
Thorium.
Oh, yeah, now, T, well, you said SOR, I'm thinking of SOR. That's another bad chemical.
Okay, and why would
Brush
our
your teeth every
government
day,
have
and
such
your
a
tongue.
why would our government have such a desire for that? Because that land over there
It changes your
in
brain,
Nevada
your brain
is full of
tissue.
it. Oh.
It changes your brain tissue, and it goes through your, like your tonsils and into your gums and stuff like that.
You're not
It's
thinking of
Thorium.
yeah.
Yeah. Good thing I took chemistry for a year in college.
Okay, I guess I thought that was totally something else. I thought it was the same as the element 115.
More or less, like the isotope.
Well, the element 115 is what they are using to make their own UFOs fly like a UFO. That's what
Yeah,
there is
but
on that
everybody
property
knows
in Oregon.
There's nothing you can hide anymore.
No.
And they're all down in Argentina right now, going through a lot of that crap. Even the actors down there.
Going
Maybe
through
he
what?
took the actress with him. I don't know. Well, there's two actors down there then.
What are they doing down there?
Oh, you'll find out. Argentina is a very strange territory and base down there, down in the ocean area of Argentina. Very special ops, and they're all being monitored, and they're all going to be fingered, and they're going to say, "I wasn't there, but we know they're there." It's a joint meeting of a lot of strange people. I would call them clowns, but these are serious people, and nothing to laugh about.
The elite.
More so, but they're dangerous.
Now, this
We get
thorium
George
is
Soros down there, we
radioactive.
could know. What's that?
Yeah. That thorium is said to be radioactive, is it?
It is. It's an
Okay.
isotope.
That's what they're using. That is the element 115.
Mm-hmm.
I know it is.
And osmium, we used to have that, I think it was 183 or something. We could paint your shoes, and we know exactly where you were. You undercover your shoes. It was an isotope that we, say you were a drug lord, right?
Uh-huh.
Put some on your bags. We know exactly where the bags are going. We can tell, and we can call you back on it, and maybe have you eat it all, and you never talk to us again. You go crazy. An isotope. Osmium, I think it was 105, 107, something like that. OS. And that's how we caught a lot of the drug lords. We would spray some of that stuff on their cars and their baggage or their suitcase or their shoes or their socks, and we could trace them anywhere in the world. We will find you, if not your clothes. We know where
And
you've been.
thorium is an abundant energy, a safe and abundant energy.
What's that?
Thorium.
Still an isotope.
Yeah. Interesting.
But who's in charge? That's the problem.
Well, who's taking it all over there? Hillary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Hillary,
the uranium,
Bill Gates.
Uranium and
Yeah, I think it was Hillary, Bill Gates, Paul Ryan was mentioned on there as being part of the group that's wanting to take that thorium out of that land in Oregon.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
And the people don't count.
People don't count.
Right. And Bill Gates is Monsanto and all the other crapola.
Right. Yep. Yep.
I know a person that flew with him, and Lon can think of the name, but that person was high up in the North Andover, Boston mafiosa. And that party was very close to the intelligence community. And it was a very interesting report.
Yeah.
Lon, remember I told you that Prime Minister got too cozy?
Hmm.
She almost shot him.
Yep.
Yep. And that goes back to Elm Street, Operation Elm Street. That's in the 10-minute deal.
You know, one thing that, we pointed out in that little 10-minute piece that you saw regarding that is that everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people don't realize that Kennedy was printing new $5 bills and $10 bills that did not have the Federal Reserve note on it. It said, what did it say on there, Lee? It said Treasury
United States
note.
dollar.
United States dollar. And one of his goals was to, and he signed a presidential bill that allowed.
I think it was 11115, something like that.
And we gave note to you. Can look it up. Anybody that's skeptical, look it up and see that Kennedy had decided to print money, with separate from the Federal Reserve System.
An executive order, take down the Federal Reserve.
Since an executive order, that maybe would be a good reason that somebody might want to take him out. Obviously,
That was a good reason.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
That he didn't like Cuba because they were communists, and they were going to destroy our continental space.
Well,
And the
that's
money
about
that they
as
give-
close as we ever got to being bombed was right there.
Right.
That was,
But
I remember
some
that
of
well.
money got out there,
Yeah.
and some of that money got out, and but it's all been brought back. But there's a few. If you happen to run across one of those bills, there were some of them that actually got out to the public, so they got them all back.
That's because the engravers got them out.
Okay, we have a question out of the chat here. Let me see if I can find it again.
I put it in Skype too.
I'm looking at it. 19, well, let's see, Kathy. Does Lee know anything about Jade Helm or the underground facilities?
Well, they're tall. I'll give you a hint. They're tall. They're taller than me, and they're underground tunnels and caves and stuff like that. And they get treated with the highest respect.
These facilities, you mean?
In Colorado area around the airports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
We
don't
got
care
under-
to meet them. I'm happy in my own skin.
What you mean? Okay, and Jade Helm, what do you know about Jade Helm?
Jane Helm was the testing in order to facilitate an martial law, which has still been approved, and it can happen any hour. But I do believe that our military will say, drop dead. Not us, the agitators. We have troops here that were invited by the actor to enforce his martial law obligations, but since he wasn't duly elected, I don't think the military accepts it, because the Supreme Court and the military courts and the Justice Department know better. It doesn't matter when John Roberts will step up and do the right thing. But a lot of these people are blackmailed and threatened.
Yes,
so it's
they
up
are.
to them to stand up and do the right job.
Yep.
Me, I'm Polish. I don't understand except the law, so I'm always
I think
a
it
guilty
all
guy.
comes down to who you fear the most in the end.
Yeah.
But as a Christian, I don't fear anybody.
No,
I was
I
taught
don't
by the
either,
nuns,
but
you never
I'm
die
talking
before your
about
time.
them. I'm talking about them,
They're
who they
dangerous
fear
people.
the most. When they
Yeah, but they don't
understand
even
that we're
belong
actually...
in public office.
No, they don't. But when they understand that we are actually not going to take it anymore,
They know that. That's why they're bringing in Jade Helm and everybody. They get the lay of the land and practice. and bring in the United Nations troops, the flatbeds, the tanks, the APCs, the food storage. The food storage is mainly for the military. That's why they closed a lot of those Walmart stores. All the plumbing can't go out at the same time.
Yeah, you got that right.
I know I'm a
So
good cop.
to kind of leave on a little bit on a hopeful note here with everybody, because I know we talked about a lot of heavy subjects, but I just wanted to say that there's a lot of positive in the things that Lee's working on. He has a high-speed rail system, for the country that he'd like to.
For mass evacuation too.
Remember, his funds have not been converted. Have not been converted back to him. They call it converted, but they were really stolen from him. But his funds are not. He does not have the access or the ability yet to. His funds are on the books, but he's not able to do anything with them. But when this gets resolved, and even though it was ordered by a judge in 2006 that his funds should be returned and he should pay his taxes, but when this does happen, which we're all hopeful that it will, and then there's some good positive things that can take place in our country, more jobs creation. We can focus on, building some infrastructure issues that we have, that
roads, bridges. We're all ready to rock and roll.
And there's all kinds of new technology that's come forth that needs to be developed and power energy related, and Lee's on top of that. So, there's a lot of great things that can happen, and it's all going to go back into the economy in so many ways to help.
And the county taxes, the city taxes,
not going to go to
state taxes.
It's not going to Ireland and places like that where a lot of other folks we know put their money. Everything goes back into this country.
And what is holding this up right now then, Lon?
Politics.
Yeah.
I think they all want set-aside allocations, and I won't do that because then they can convict me under Title 18, Section 201, and they keep it all the money. I got to be me. I don't pay, and I don't give bribes. I certainly don't ask for favors that I cannot ever get out of.
Well, that's kind of where we're at with Trump, isn't it? Do you think Trump is going to do any good?
I hate to say yes and no. The jury is still out. Because if he were to talk about the funds that are in the Treasury Department right now, direct deposit over $31.2 trillion in my name, 10 accounts, and I'm due to pay 35% taxes on every dollar, or else I'll never get out of the Treasury building, which is fine with me. And I'm taking a lot of Treasury bills because they don't have enough. They were coming out with a new U.S. note, a United States note, and we're still thinking of coming out with United States dollars based on Kennedy, because I proposed more than 8 or 9 months ago that we should dump the Federal Reserve note, immediately print the new United States dollar under the Kennedy red seal, and people would say, oh my God, Kennedy's back. That would be an eye-opener for 300 million people to see a Kennedy note coming back out in 63. I thought, a public relations. We're not dead in the water. We're real people, and Kennedy was a leader. He was a hero. So was Bob Kennedy, who took down the mob, and he got killed for that too. Everybody that's good gets killed. I can't believe I'm still alive, but I do pray a lot.
Well, there's a lot of good people out there that haven't really spoken up, but they're starting to now. And Lee has a lot more support than most people would ever realize.
Because I haven't been fired yet. I haven't been discharged. I'm just floating around doing my job.
And
I did just get a letter the other day from the White House that I'm not a federal employee, and I knew that. 4 times now the White House told me I'm not a federal employee. Good, because then I'm not a spy. Because being a spy, I could be killed by foreign agents any day of the week.
Well, see, the reason the White House is saying that, just so everybody understands, is that everybody on the CIA and other groups have tried to tell everybody, well, Lee was an employee, so therefore all that money's theirs. And the point is, he's not an employee. The White House has verified that 4 times.
That's exactly what they did with our Social Security, Lon. They called that a tax. So then when we want it back, we can't get it back.
It's a double standard. It's wearing 2 hats. And it's
not a tax, it's an endowment.
It's serving 2 masters, basically. and you can't operate that way.
So if you're not
dirty
retired,
politics.
if you're not retired from there, then and you're still under them, you're not getting a pension either, are you?
That's what they're talking about. The guys that are making the rules won't be there because they're not lawfully in that position. So anything will be all null and void.
Uh-huh.
We talk to a lot of people every day. That's why I don't get any sleep anymore.
Yeah.
I fall asleep watching
Anyway,
TV commercials just so I can fall asleep.
You're talking to a guy that's 76 years old. Lee's been out there and he's still working every day. He works 18-hour days at least, that I'm aware of. He lives a very humble life. I mean, you guys out there, most of you probably live way better than Lee does. But he could have accepted, and he could have cashed in his gold that he has in storage. You heard about it. But he's doing the best he can. He's trying to do what's right, and he has the character to do what's right as best he can, and not giving in to set aside allocations and special deals and all the things. He's still around because he's very. I've learned from getting to talk to him a lot, and of course interviewing him personally, that he has a tremendous amount of tenacity and resolve. And that's what kept him going. Of course, his belief in God, and that's kept him going. But he does care about you, every one of you out there. He cares about our country, and it's not about money. It's not about what he's going to get out of the deal.
Certainly not
It's
power.
about, it's not about that. I can tell you that. He lives off of
that's
Fritos
why I've always
and,
appreciated
chips and stuff.
Man, pretzel rods. I gave up for Lent. I can't wait till Sunday.
So it's an interesting story. That's why, again, I was a documentarian. I felt that it was something that the public needed to hear about, and I'm doing my best to get the message out.
Yeah. Well, Lee, thank you so much. You came on for the whole 2 hours.
You're
I
most
really
welcome. Thank
appreciate
you.
that. And we'll get you out a copy of this show as soon as possible, Lon, so you can
Okay?
post
Thank
it.
you.
And
That'd
I'm
be
just
awesome.
really
Thank you.
very grateful to both of you for coming on.
So am I. So am I.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for the courage
Thanks
to
for the
call it.
invitation. Thank you.
Oh, courage is nothing now. I'm a little bit younger than you, but not much. And I don't care no more. I'm going to say what I
care
have to say.
because Reagan always said, have common courage when you're out there. I'm here for you. You're in my shoes. And I'm going,
Yeah.
what size you wearing? But I better not.
No, I learned a long time ago, Lee, that when you're no longer afraid to die, you're Satan's worst enemy.
I know.
And that's what I plan to be, his worst enemy.
Yep.
To me, it's a favor. If God takes me home, I'm coming back with him, and I'm heading straight for Satan.
I
I'm
agree.
going to be his worst
Give it a
enemy.
chokehold.
Yep, that's right.
I was well trained. I was well trained to defend myself.
Yep.
When I was in prison, 3 Aryan Nation guys banged my head against the wall. The guards let them in my private cell, and they were trying to. One guy was playing with himself with olive oil, and they were going to rape me. And I said to myself, first of all, you hit my head against that cement wall. That hurts. And now you're waking me up, and you're swabbing yourself. I took all 3 of them down. The third guy was hanging over the second floor railing and started, Wanta, don't drop. Start, just take his shoes, bring him up here. He ain't going nowhere. I had him in such a chokehold, he's turning blue. We were trained for that. But when you hit me against the cement wall, you wake me up.
Yeah.
And they're all skinheads.
My father
Like I
used
should be
to say
afraid.
my father used to say, if you want a kid's attention, hit him in the slats with a 2x4, and then you got their attention. Tell them what you want.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, I want you to know that cement wall hurt.
Yes, it does.
And then they're going to rape me. I don't think so. So, I remember Sarge running up the steps. Wanta, don't drop him. Sarge, just take his feet and bring him back up here. Don't worry about him. He ain't going nowhere.
So
But these
anyway,
3
Lee's
punks had to
story
take
can go
me
on
down.
and on about
Yeah.
all the things that happened in jail, and also happened after it's happened since then. There's been a lot of interesting experiences.
What is the name of the book again, Lon, before you go?
The book is called Wanta, Black Swan, White Hat. It's you can download it off of Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or Amazon. If you're interested in a paperback copy with the disc with all of the information in PDF form and all the exhibits on the disc, it comes with the book, which is nice. You can get that by just calling 509-467-1113, and that's Viking International that can get that out to you.
And the documentary's coming out when?
And the documentary, God willing, of course, we're working on it hard. And there's a lot of people that we're interviewing. It should be ready. Our goal is to have it out by the end of summer, before the election, of course.
Okay. Well, Lee, you take very, very good care of yourself.
Thank you. I shall. I pray a lot, so that's my guidance.
I do want you to know that while we have been talking on air, I've had a helicopter up over my house, just hanging around.
Why not? Somebody has to help you with your antenna.
And the same thing happened to me last time I put you on air, kid. I don't know.
I have friends in big places.
Yeah, you sure do.
They just don't want to invite me anymore because I talk sassy to them.
The day that Lee arrived in Spokane, when he came out, when we interviewed him, and a lot of people said he would never show up. And I can tell you he's a real person, but I spent a week with him, and 5 18-hour days for sure. And it was an interesting experience to see, him eye to eye, and to capture, his story, which is part of what's going into this documentary. But there were some interesting security things that happened during that time as well.
Yeah, we had the military protecting me. We had that beautiful lady that picked me up in Salt Lake City for the next leg to get into where Lon was, and she introduced herself to Lon, or I introduced her. And, I felt very pleasant because I knew she wasn't alone. You know what I mean? Because I don't need to know who's following us, because I know the contact person was her. And she went right up to Lon, and said goodbye to me and stuff like that. Her job was done.
It's great to get the word out. I mean, the knowledge, getting as much information out to people is important, so that people can, study and find out
for themselves.
You don't have to accept anything you've heard today, just from what you just check it out. That's all.
Right.
All I'm saying.
We're a constitutional republic if we can keep it.
Yep. Are you getting snow over there by you, Lee?
No snow around me. I travel a lot.
We got about 6 inches, and it's supposed to be all day tomorrow yet.
Yeah, but you're down in Texas.
No, I'm in Minnesota.
Oh, I thought you were in Texas.
No. No, very close.
Okay.
Well, yeah, one day you and I have to meet. We have to talk about Nicaragua. That would be just a stitch.
And the Calero brothers.
Yes.
Because they ran that White House. They really ran the White House. We had Matamoros had a wing at the White House bigger than